Hello everyone, and welcome to this very simple little felted angel tutorial. So what you're going to need today to make the felted angel is some white felted tops. I have merino wool tops here. You'll also need your felting mat, and I use a medium-sized felting needle. And then you will also need some illusion cord. It comes on a roll like this, and it's what I use for hanging the angel. So the first thing I need to do is to make the angel's head. So I'm going to take a piece of my merino wool and separate it by pulling it very gently. And then I'm going to take a small piece of the wool, separate it from the rest. Smooth it down. I always smooth my fibres when I'm working on them. And tie it in a knot and then wrap it around the knot. This is to give you a ball shape for the inside of the angel's head. Place it on your felting mat and then using your felting needle, work all the way around the ball to felt it into place. Now, do be careful when you're doing this. It is very easy to poke your finger. And because the felting needle is barbed, when you poke your finger with it, it hurts a lot. Now, it doesn't have to be felted really hard because you're just using it for the inside form for her head, but you do need to have it in a decent circular shape. So just work on it until you get it that way. It doesn't take long. Now I'm making the angel in white today, and I'm just doing all white, but you could use whatever colour felting wool you want to use, and you could add different coloured ribbon or any amount of things to decorate it. I like them when they're just plain white, and for the purposes of the tutorial it's easier to keep it plain white because it's much quicker. So that's the head. It's just a little ball. Then I want to make her body, so I'm going back to my felt fibres here and I'm splitting them again. So this piece I'm going to keep for her wings, and this is going to be her body here. So I'm going to find the midway point, take a tail and tie it around the middle. And that will make the center at the top of her head. Now, normally when I'm making my fairy dolls, this piece gets covered in her hair, but because this is an angel, it's not getting covered. So I want to make sure it's not going to open. So I am felting into the little tie just to make sure it's secure. Once I have that done, then I take my ball and I place it in the center like this, and then smooth the fibres around it to cover the ball. And just take a couple of seconds to do that so that it's neat. Hold it securely underneath the ball. Again, take a tail from the bottom and wrap it around the top of the head, and that forms the neck of the angel like that. And again, felt that into place. Now, when I'm working on my felting mat, I also have a piece of timber under it just to protect my tabletop, because these needles are quite sharp, so you would scratch your tabletop. The top of them is also quite fragile, so if you hit the tabletop with it, you will break it. So just try and keep it just going through the mat. So that's this, her head and her body. Now I'm going to make two little arms for my angel as well. So I'm just going to separate out two pieces of fibre from either side of her body here. So I've decided this is going to be the front of my angel, and try and make sure that those fibres are evenly sized, and that way her arms will be even in size. And then you fold the fibre in half and twist it. Place it back down on your felting mat and hold the twist in place with your fingers and felt into her arm. So what I'm doing is I'm felting the pieces together so that they form her arm. And if you need to, you can just manipulate the fibres around with your felting needle while you're working. And again, it'll take a few minutes to do this, just to make sure the fibres are firmly secured. You can turn it upside down then and work through from the other side as well. And just keep turning the fibres over with the felting needle to make sure you're getting a little neat arm shape. It does take a few minutes to do this, but it is worth taking the time to do it. And then you do the same with the other piece. So that was the original piece. Fold it in half, twist it, place it back down on the felting mat and work on that arm as well. So I'm just driving the needle through the layers of felt, or the felting wool, to secure them in place. And I'm moving the needle up and down along the length of the arm to make sure I get it all secure. And I'm just working back and forward from side to side. I find the noise of the needle going through the felting board very satisfying for some reason. Now I'm going to go back to this arm here. I'm not quite happy with how much it's felted. So I want to put a bit more time into the other arm. I try to do these processes as quickly as possible when I'm recording, so that you're not sitting there for a half an hour looking at me felting one little arm. But really, when you're doing it yourself, you can spend more time to make sure you're happy with the job that you're doing. Okay, so that's the two little arms felted. Now I would spend a little bit more time when I'm off camera felting them, just to make sure they're a little bit more secure than they are. But I think you've looked at me poking those arms quite long enough for now. So that's the two arms. So now I want to give her wings. So I'm back to the piece of fibre that I had removed earlier. And this is going to make her wings. So what I do, I take her and I open her dress in half. There is a natural opening in it where you had folded it in half to make the neck shape. So just open it, find the midway point of the piece of felt you're using for her wings, place her over that. And there are her wings. And you can just make sure they're roughly even in length, like that. Take a piece of fibre from the bottom of her skirt and wrap it around under her arms to secure her wings in place. And again, felt that little tie into place to make sure it's secure. Front and back. So that's the fibre for her wings, and this is her skirt. Now the next thing I'm going, and there are our two arms of course. The next thing I'm going to do is put the hanger in place before I secure her wings. So for the hanger, I've used my illusion cord. So this is a nylon cord, and I've threaded it into a needle. And I'm going to put that through the back of her head. And pull one end of it through, down to one end and pull the other end all the way through. And then bring it up to the top and tie a knot to secure it in place. And then the bit where you have the knot, slide that through down to the back of her head so that it sits at the back of her head. And that way then you don't see where the actual knot is, because it'll be covered with her wings now in a second. So the next thing I'm going to do now is the felt that I'm using for her wings, I'm going to fan it out to make the shape for her wings. You see I'm doing this with it, and I'll do the same with the other one. So I'm just using the tip of the felting needle to spread the felt out for her wings. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring each of the wings up to the back of her head. Because if you look at angels, their wings always look like they're coming out of the back of their head almost. So I'm going to bring each edge up to the back of her head here, and I'm just going to gently felt her wings, just the edge of each one, onto the back of her head. Now you can see it's just like that. So that's the front of her head, this is the back of her head. And I'm just felting just the inside edge of the wings onto the back of her head. Try and make sure that your felting needle doesn't poke out to the front of her head, because then you make the front of her head, the felt on the front of her head, uneven. And once you have that done, you're just going to shape her wings into a nice angel shape. You're just using your felting needle to spread the wings out into a nice shape. And then I just gather the tips in as well, just to neaten the shape up, and put a little twist on the end of each wing. Now if you find the wings are a bit heavy, and these wings are actually a little bit heavy, if you comb well through the felt, you can remove some of the fibre like that, just to make the wings a little bit lighter. And there are her wings. And I just twist a little point into the top of each of the wings to hold the wings in place. And I am just going to felt those wings on a little bit more at the back to give them a little bit of support. So that's her wings then in place. You can see there she has her 2 wings. And then I'm going to come down here to her skirt, and using my felting needle I'm just going to work lightly through her skirt, just to, again to fan it out and soften the look on her skirt. And you can do that front and back. It just relaxes the fibres and spreads them out a little bit, softens the look. Of your angel. And the last thing I'm going to do is bring her 2 little hands together to the front of her body there, like that, and then I'm going to just drive the needle through them to felt her little hands in place. And that is the little white angel finished. And that's all you have to do to make her. She's very simple and very effective. She looks absolutely beautiful if you have some little fairy lights behind her. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. If you have, I would be delighted if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can also have a look at my Facebook page, which has lots of images of the angels and fairies that I make. Thank you for watching. Bye.